Has it been 6 months already? I guess it has. From what I understand, if you don't do anything with your YouTube channel in 6 months, sometimes YouTube will delete it. So I figured I had three choices. I could either do nothing and YouTube would delete my channel. I could question the 2020 election and YouTube would delete my channel. Or I could take a couple minutes to talk about some books I've picked up recently. I decided to go with option C. So the first thing I got was there's a company called PS Art Books that reprint pre-code and post-code comics from companies such as Avon, Ziff Davis, Fawcett, Charlton, and a host of others. The person behind the project is Roy Thomas, who has carefully curated the titles to decide what goes in there, and they've reprinted everything from Phantom Lady to Planet Comics and just about everything in between. Now, these are some books that I picked up at half price books recently, and I thought I'd show a couple to you. First one is Amazing Adventures. Now, this was a series from Ziff Davis that lasted 6 issues. It was the stories were reminiscent of Planet Comics. So most of them were in a science fiction and adventure vein. And some of the people that contributed to this book that you might recognize: Ogden Whitney, Alex Schoenberg, Wally Wood, Murphy Anderson, Bernie Kriegston, how do you pronounce that? Uh, Great series. Don't know why it lasted. Don't know why it didn't last longer. Next up, Beware. This is a horror title from the early 50s. Some of the people that contributed to that you might recognize: Myron Fass, William Zeller. Let's see, the back covers of the books show the covers that are going to be reprinted in the issues. And here's another issue, or another Beware. Here's a name you'll recognize: Frank Frazetta. Next up, we have Out of This World, that reprinted Charlton Comics from right after the Comics Code was instituted. And a couple of names on this particular issue: Dick Giordano and Steve Ditko, whose work is all over this title. Now, this being post-code, the horror and gore were gone, replaced by mystery and suspense. And I really enjoy this particular title. Next up, Out of the Shadows, a straight-up horror title. Some of the names you'll recognize from this volume: Alex Toth, George Tuska, Ross Andrew. Here's another volume of Out of the Shadows. Nick Cardy, Mike Sadowski, Alex Toth again, Mort Meskin. So there's a lot of familiar names working on these titles in those days. Next up, we have Strange Terrors. This one was a little more cerebral than the other ones, but no less enjoyable. Don Perlin, Joe Kubert, George Tuska all show up in this volume. Next up, The Unseen, another straight horror title. Ross Andrew, Alex Toth, George Roussos, Mike Sadowski again. And last, we have Worlds of Fear. It was more, a little horror, a little sci-fi adventure. Mike Sadowski again, George Evans, Bob Powell, and Sheldon Moldoff all contributed to these issues. Page 2. Next, I want to talk about a company called Skywall. They were, in the 70s, you had Warren Publishing doing creepy, eerie Vampirella, and two men, Saul Brodsky, who was an original member of Stan's Marvel Bullpen, and Israel Waldman, formed a company, put their names together, and you got Skywall. And they were a horror magazine, hopefully competition to Warren. They didn't last long, and over the years, their output lapsed into public domain. And I want to show you one of the magazines. I've got an issue of Nightmare here, and the problem is it's aptly named for people that want to find the issues because A, they're hard to find, B, they're very expensive to find in good condition. Well, fortunately, a company named Gwandanaland rescanned all the issues and started publishing them. And I stumbled onto those when I was looking for things to check out on Amazon. Found these and have been buying them like prohibition's coming. And I want to show off some of the ones I've picked up recently. Now they did 3 titles: Nightmare, Psycho, and Scream. And first up is Nightmare Volume 1, which publishes the first 4 issues, which is about 260 pages, give or take. Nightmare Volume 2, issues 5 through 8. And Volume 3. Now, there are 7 volumes in total. I absolutely plan to get the other 4. Next up, Psycho. Gotta love that cover. Psycho, this one has the first 4 issues of this title. We got Volume 2. We have 5 through 8. And Volume 3 has their annual number 1. And yes, all 3 of these titles published annuals. And Nightmare also published winter and summer specials. So this has the annual and issues 9, 10, and 11. Now, the one that lasted the least amount of time was Scream. Started late and only lasted 10 issues, but this has the first 4 issues. Volume 2. And Volume 3, which has the last 2 issues in the annual and actually sells for 13 instead of 15. Now, one of the things about this company was they had a good talent pool of creators that had either been around for a while or ones just coming up. Doug Mensch has several stories in here. There's a John Byrne story in one of these issues. Rich Buckler did the art in a lot of the issues. Marv Wolfman wrote. Steve Englehart has stories in here. And I even found one from Jerry Siegel. That Jerry Siegel. So these are a lot of fun. If you like 70s magazine horror, definitely worth your time and investment. And one other thing I do want to show is not only did they reprint all of the Skywall output, there was another company called Eerie Publications, and they specialized in more schlock, shock, and gore. Whatever gore they could fit on a cover, using up every inch of space, they would do. Now, what these guys did was they paid artists not a whole lot to redraw 50s horror stories to give them 70s feel. And this particular one, Weird Vampire Tales, has all 10 issues of this title, over 500 pages for $21.99. Again, if you like this stuff, this is absolutely, can't miss material. So that'll about do it for this comic haul, as it were. I guess this is where I'm supposed to say, please like, please share, please subscribe. And until the next one, good night, kids.